Hello, and welcome to the Fear Channel, a channel with regular broadcasts telling the most chilling of urban legends, ghost stories, and forays into the darkest corners of the human mind. Tonight's story is somewhat unique, and calls for a different kind of introduction. When you see them, it will be on a long dark stretch of road, often in the undeveloped space between a couple of towns. Short, perhaps 3 feet tall, with oversized heads, these malevolent beings known as melonheads are rumored to have manifest in parts of Michigan, Ohio, and Connecticut. Tonight, however, we will focus solely on the incidents surrounding Fairfield County and the southwestern corner of Connecticut. The Constitution State is a bit of an oddball when it comes to paranormal encounters. Despite its high population density, strange phenomenon occurs frequently. Stories of the Melonheads are common to a dozen surrounding towns, but are most prominently witnessed in the Easton, Shelton, Trumbull, and Monroe area. The legend of the Melonheads holds that there was an asylum for the criminally insane erected in the mid-1800s, somewhere near the border of Trumbull and Monroe. One autumn, a group of the detained started a fire and burnt down the asylum. Afterwards, the wreckage was searched. All of the staff were identified and believed to be burnt alive, but a handful of the institutionalized were left unaccounted for. Those who escaped knew that re-entering one of the nearby towns would only lead to recapture, so rather than return to society, these misfits chose to remain extremely secluded. The risk of being caught made it near impossible to farm, so these individuals scraped by eating wildlife, which became scarce during the harsh Connecticut winters. Fearing outside contact, they quickly turned to inbreeding for procreation. The combination of cannibalism, malnutrition, and rapid inbreeding created a subspecies of human with physical deformities, mental retardation, and a penchant for violence. The infamous Velvet Street is a 1.5-mile stretch of dirt road that leads from Trumbull into Monroe. Due to its eerie atmosphere, local residents now refer to the road as Dracula Drive. Coincidentally, this stretch is heavily wooded and close to the Easton Reservoir, a perfect source for drinking water. Since the 1920s, stories of the Melonheads have popped up in the region. Megan Connell, a student from Notre Dame High School in Fairfield, Connecticut, went with a group of friends to visit Velvet Street in hopes of finding a good scare. With music blaring, the girls turned onto a narrow dirt path. About midway, they parked and switched off the engine, music, and lights. Then, Megan led her friends into the woods with the intention of finding a melonhead. The girls had not gotten very far when they heard the sound of a car starting up. A brief moment later, the horn blared, lights flashed, and the car came barreling towards them. The girls had barely noticed what was going on when they scrambled out of the way. The 6 watched in complete shock as Megan's car rumbled past. Inside, they could plainly see a cluster of deformed, large-headed beings. One Jeffrey Walter recounts an incident when he was 10 years old. It was an early autumn night, around 10 p.m., when he heard his dog bark and ran outside to see what was going on. Upon arrival, he found his dog lying on the ground bleeding. He looked towards the woods and saw what appeared to be a small figure with very pale skin and a large head. When the creature saw him, it ran into the woods. The next morning, he went out to try to follow the tracks, but they stopped at a nearby creek. Other accounts of the Melonheads include sightings of singular severed deer legs on the side of the road. Lone bikers and runners have disappeared from the area without any trace save for a bike or backpack. There are even stories of people being pulled out from the inside of their vehicles. Whatever creatures exist on Velvet Street, it is clear that they want to be left alone, and have no problem resorting to violence in order to keep their presence a secret.